Welcome to the Core Experience, your connection to community, business, and the people who make it all happen with your host, Brandon Suba.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Core Experience. My name is Brandon Suba, the host here on this podcast. I am a treasury relationship manager when it comes to the bank side, and I enjoy working with a lot of our business banking that we have at Core, but they let me sneak off and do these podcasts from time to time. Now, as we all know, we like to have our nonprofits that we support on here. We like to bring people from Core and have them on here. And today we brought somebody from Core to have on the podcast. Now, I'm excited to have our guest on today because I house out of headquarters, and Courtney, who we'll learn a little bit about more in just a second, she also houses out of headquarters. She is at the branch there. So when there's branch conversations, you almost always get pulled in. And I think I bring fun ones from time to time. I'm going to use fun as a blanket statement there by all means.
I like that.
But the guest that we have today is Courtney Miller, and she is the branch manager. There's more technical name because Michael's was like, what is your technical name or technical role, I should say? I'm
technically a banking center manager, and most recently I've promoted to a 2.
A 2. Okay, so banking center manager 2. And she'll tell a little bit about her history. But again, our personalities are very similar. Yeah. So we do enjoy working with clients together and all of that. It is always a good time. I think it is.
I think it is.
Okay, good. Then we are agreeing. But thank you for coming on the show today, Courtney. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your history in banking and a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. Well, I'm really happy to be here, Brandon. Thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I'm really excited to be able to chat today, as we chat all the time.
All the time.
So I most recently in my banking career have worked at Core Bank. I started as a Experience Expert 1, which is very similar to like a universal banker. Mm-hmm. I started in our virtual center about 3 years ago. Our virtual center handles all our phone calls. They also do loans and open accounts just as our regular banking centers do. So I got a lot of banking experience there. And then most recently in the last year, actually I just had my year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have moved and transitioned down to the branch manager of our headquarters location. Over that period of time, I've been lucky enough to take care of some other branches when we've been short-staffed. So that has been a great experience for me. The nice thing about headquarters and the cool thing that I really like is I get to deal with our internal partners like you and our treasury department, our trust department, our commercial lenders, everybody. And so I love to develop those relationships within as well.
Now, on your off time, not at Core, you and your husband, Jeremy, are involved up at your church. Is that correct?
Yes. My husband and I are youth pastors.
And youth pastors. So I have a little history of being a youth pastor. Well, I don't know. I helped out with the middle school youth group, I guess we'll call it. So good enough. But always fun to share those stories and experiences because it is very fun to hear the stories and the experiences that kids are having at that age.
It's a hoot, for sure.
And they're funny, and I mean that in a true manner. It is funny because it's things that I don't even think about at all in life. True. And it's their number one focus.
Right, it's their biggest deal in their life for sure.
Well, today I forgot to say the theme.
Oh, that's great.
Today we are going to fall into finances because it's officially fall.
It is.
We are past the summer date, even though we're still comfortably in the 80s with our weather
we gotta
here.
Love Nebraska.
So we're going to fall into finances. We want to talk a little bit about the opportunity of banking with a community bank, what Core has to offer. And I think, especially with your experience at Core, Courtney, from virtual center to running a branch now and everything, you've really got to see a lot. I deal a lot with business banking. My past was with the healthcare space, and I'm still in that a little bit with the treasury side. So I see a little different side, but you can see all of it because you got to deal with internal partners and of course with our face-to-face clients. So to start us off, why don't you kind of talk about the accounts that we offer at Core Bank if I were just looking to just have a bank to support me?
Sure. So we have, as Brandon kind of alluded to, obviously we deal a lot with our business customers. I'm going to leave that to the professionals over here. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about our consumer accounts that we have. We offer any account for any stage of your life. If you are somebody that has a whole bunch of money that wants certain interest, and we've got the account for that. If you're somebody who's just getting started and needs an account that maybe doesn't have a minimum balance, we have that as well. So we offer checkings, savings, money markets, certificate of deposits, which have been really popular recently.
Which is funny because my many years of banking experience spread out a little bit, but I remember when CDs were almost a joke. And now they are the thing. We open like so many thousands,
each week.
Wasn't it?
It was nuts. Which I totally understand, with the interest rates being so variable. And that's another thing we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then something that I'm really excited about is we also have overdraft protection that we can set up for your accounts, which I think some people kind of forget about. And it's great security to have. Definitely a lot of the time not a long-term solution, but it's great when you need it. And most recently, you actually had Michael Roth, which is one of the banking center managers that I work with, on the podcast talking about health savings accounts. That's something that's really interesting, a smart financial move for health-related things, but also if you really look into the tax purposes of it, you can actually use it once you're old enough to retire. So that's something else that we really do offer, and we open quite a bit of.
Coming from the business banking, a lot of the doctors and dentists that I worked with, they usually self-employed, have their own practice, and so it's very common that they have a health savings account. I did not know this going into it. So then the new year came, and all of a sudden I got bombarded with all these people wanting to open these accounts that came over and onboarded, and it made sense. I think we actually have people that don't necessarily bank with us directly that come and open health savings accounts because it's a necessity for the type of insurance that they have opted into. So they need to have that. I'm going to add the two other accounts that so when you get into the healthcare space or even the private banking side, we have the Elite account, which is a checking account that I would say tailors nicely to those that do have larger sums of money. It is possibly interest bearing, not as much as a money market, of course, but there's a little something there. And then we have our exclusive account, and that is a much higher balance that you would carry. I say I use that account a lot more before the interest rates kind of went a little goofy because it made sense. Now, even somebody that would be looking at that account, they really benefited more in the money market and the CD space right now. But hey, the Fed's made a move.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about interest rates in a little bit with all the disclaimers that we probably need to put on there. So. So, at the end of the day, people say banking is a commodity. Right? You can go to any bank and you can open an account and you can deposit money into there. I come from the corporate banking, a much bigger bank background from my past history. And coming into the community bank, what I have said many times is what the big banks want to do for their employees, the community banks do. And I look at it on the employee side because that's the biggest thing I saw. Now, you are in a branch, so you're dealing much more with that day in and day out customer. Yeah. So talk a little bit more about the advantage of a community bank versus just any old bank that you can go to.
Sure. And I think a lot of the time, this era that we live in, we have not only big banks, but we have online banks. That's right. And that's things that are really hard to access. And so with community bank, kind of like you mentioned, Brandon, is we're able to do a lot of different things because, we are in the community. Some of the things that are very black and white benefits, you have a banker. That's one thing that I've been lucky enough. My past experience before Core Bank was actually in a credit union. And so that's something I've only known. And so when I hear about my colleagues, which I'm very thankful to hear about those stories of bigger banks, I think about the bigger banks that I've had my car through. You can never get a hold of them.
Nope.
Anytime I have an issue, I have to sit on the phone for an hour. And so that's something that I think, especially Core Bank specifically, really tries to make sure to develop that relationship. Like I said, I did mention that I've been with Core Bank for about 3 years now, and I just met one of my virtual center customers for the first time in person.
That's awesome.
And it's because there was a life change in his event. An event is
A life-changing
event. Well, it was an event of some sorts. And so we're people, we're humans first. And so that is why the relationship portion for me personally is so important. You'll have people who sometimes they'll just chase the rate because that's what they prefer. Mm-hmm. They want to gain the most interest. They don't need a banker. When those life-changing events happen, they think that they can handle it on themselves. And a lot of them can. They may have the knowledge, 100%. But I will say that there are some people that need an expert banker. And that's what we want to be. And so when you're in a community bank or a local bank, you have access to your money a lot faster. You have access to humans a lot faster. Every time I open an account, that person has my phone number. Mm-hmm. They have my direct line. They have my direct email and are able to get a hold of me. Another thing that sometimes people are like, well, you're local, so maybe, digitally it's not as great, or you may not have as many solutions. But that's one thing that I think Core Bank is doing a great job of, is we're really trying to expand our tool belt through our digital solutions. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get to our benefits portion about our digital solutions. But another thing that I did kind of want to bring up when we're talking about this, you did allude to rate, is a lot of the times we see people go from the smaller banks or the community banks or the local banks to like online banks or the bigger banks because the rate's a little better. Local banks do their best to make their rates the best.
Right.
But if you really take a look at what you're putting in a CD at a certain rate, the difference might really surprise you if you really look at how much money it is. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, if you have a $10,000 CD that you want to put in for 12 months, and the interest rate is 4.5 annual percentage yield, that's pretty standard, kind of what we're seeing right now. Maybe a few months ago, it's starting to look a little different now, but you're going to earn $450 worth of interest.
Easy.
And so maybe your local bank is offering, kind of a similar thing, a 12-month, but at 4.25 annual percentage yield. If you really look at it, the only difference is $25. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of the time people have to look, and we see this because we have customers who will stick with us through rate changes like that. Is that $25 worth it to you to lose having a banker, having somebody that when you walk in, we know your name? Mm-hmm. That's something that, shout out to my boss, Heather Seaman. She told me to shout her out.
Oh, hey, there you go.
This is one thing that she's really spearheaded in retail is our front facing for our customers is to build those relationships. That's what we want to be based on, is we want the value of us, because I really, really believe in the value of the bankers that I lead, and they go above and beyond for that excellent customer service, and it makes all the difference in all these people's lives.
And I'll give another example on those notes. You could open up a CD at a big bank or big bank, whatever, and you're going to get a letter saying, hey, your CD's maturing. And that's probably about it. And true. I'm not great at opening my mail all the time. And so if that's going to happen, there's nobody to really take the effort to reach out a few times to let you know what's going on. And then it just kind of defaults, where I have seen and been involved in conversations. Hey, we could not get a hold of this client. They're one of your clients. Would you want to reach out? And it was the efforts of your team getting to the person before the CD matures so that we can decide, what do you want to do with this? And I think that's that personal touch of having a banker in your corner where, and maybe it's capacity. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but those bigger banks just don't have that ability to have that community touch. And we do. We absolutely do. And I think that's a big piece of keeping the money local, working with a community bank such as Chorus.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree.
So you were talking about some benefits of banking with us. I mean, minus your rock star team.
Yes, they are.
For businesses, the amazing treasury team, which I had to give a shout out. We have a Kansas City branch.
Yes.
And I forgot to mention, our newest treasury relationship manager out there, Brian, and he let me know.
Because, did he? Good, Brian.
Well, and here's another thing. We got a community podcast here, so we want to make sure we give the shouts out to the people that deserve it. So, Brian, there's your shout out. So we have strong treasury team. Our commercial lenders, I mean, they have long histories with all of them in the banking world. They do a great job. Virtual Center, you mentioned. I mean, these are all people that we see daily and we get to interact with often. So again, something that you're not going to see at a bigger bank. You're going to see that at a community bank. But what are some of the more fun benefits?
The more fun benefits. Well, everybody loves benefits, right? Nobody.
You're right.
You're not going to, I might have a great personality, but you want the benefits as well, right? So biggest thing is we have accessibility to your money. There's so many ways that you can access your money at Core Bank. And now a lot of other banks have similar digital tools or similar ways to do this, but I'm really excited about how Core Bank has set up their online banking, their digital solutions. We have we just rolled out a brand new online banking here a couple months ago, and it is fantastic. I love it. I bank with Core personally because I want to be invested where I'm at, and I want to make sure I know how our online banking works for our customers. And so you can do transfers, you can do external transfers to other accounts at other institutions. We have debit cards. Another thing that I really like that's very accessible and convenient is our online bill pay. This is something that in our virtual center, I used to bring up a lot because I think people kind of forget about it is, there are some places and some people that still write checks. Nowadays,
we've talked about checks on this podcast so many times. Hey, they're still a valuable way to make payments.
They are. However, fraud is rampant.
Yep.
And checks being stolen out of mailboxes, people can get your account number off a check. And so the great thing about online bill pay is that if someone wants a check, you can pay them through online bill pay. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. So you're saving the money of buying checks. It doesn't have your account number on it, which is also very secure. And then we can kind of track that. And so if we can't find it, we're able to put a stop payment on it. And that doesn't cost either. So it's a great tool that I think is underutilized. And so it's something that I'll sing the praises of all the time.
I've paid my mom with online bill pay. I have. Yep, it's easy.
I remember when I first started, I wanted to test and see how it worked. So I paid my husband $1 and had it mailed to our house.
$1?
Yeah.
Sure.
And so it came in the mail and I was like, this is awesome. And I did nerd out about banking stuff a little bit, but it's okay.
And I love the convenience of online bill pay. Yes. I've been using it forever with a lot of different things. And it's simple. It's easy. I set them up at the beginning of the month. I'm sure you can set up automatic. Yeah, I'm a little hesitant on automatic pay for some reason. I apparently have to have the control.
Well, I respect that.
Thanks.
Another thing is, accessibility to your info. Some things nowadays, you maybe start a new job. You need verification of your bank account. You can pull online statements anytime through our online banking. You have your transaction history, which goes back 60 days. That you can always look through. It helps. I don't see people keeping check registers anymore.
No.
And so I rely heavily off my transaction history and having that right at my fingertips. We also have something that's really neat that I'll talk about is our personal finance tool. This is something that's built into our online banking. It's built into our app, and it will actually create a budget for you. And so I think it's just really neat, and you can add in accounts from other institutions. You can add in other payments you have to make, and it will help you make your budget and track it for you. When I first opened it, I was a little concerned with how much money I was spending. So I did close that real quick. However, it is a great tool that I found myself using now once I kind of got over that shell shock.
Okay, good.
And then we kind of talked about fraud. We talked about checks, and unfortunately, fraud is very rampant. All kinds of fraud. People calling you for your social, people calling you for your account number, people stealing things out of your mailbox. And so another thing that's really important is we have fraud protection on our online banking. We have our dual sign-on that you need if it's on a different device that you've never been on before. And another thing that this has happened to me, but if your debit card number gets stolen or compromised, we have a great flagging system. Sometimes it's very good that it actually flags things that are you. But I am the person, I'd rather be safe than sorry and lose a whole bunch of money. And so our debit card, that is pretty top tier, I would think. We also talked a little bit already about convenience. So we have that 24/7 online banking. Your debit cards work all the time. But something I think is also really cool, apparently I think a lot of things are cool, is our ITMs, which is our interactive teller machines. And so I'll also give a shout out to the virtual center, which is where I came from. And so when these first rolled out, I had the honor and privilege to be able to figure out how to use them. We had a great team, Jessica, Marvin, well, she's not Marvin now, but and Marie White at that time. And we figured it out, and it is a huge benefit. Our virtual center has extended hours. They open a little bit earlier than us, stay open a little bit later than us, and on Saturdays, they're also open later than we are. And so this interactive teller machine, this ITM, is at our Granite Falls and our headquarters locations, and you can hit the help button, and a banker, an experienced expert, just like what I was, will pop up, and they're able to process mostly everything. We can't do cashier's checks through them, unfortunately, but we can cash your checks. We can do withdrawal. We can deposit cash and checks. We have a lot of businesses that use it.
Yep.
And so it is a great convenience. And then finally, peace of mind. This world gets crazy sometimes, and finances are one of the things that people worry about the most. Is my money safe? You see all these things on the news about all this fraudulent activity happening. And so we pride ourselves in having secure online banking. We have card controls in our mobile app, which is also really neat. If you were to lose your debit card on a weekend, you can turn off the card until you can find it. I use that a lot because I lose my card a lot. And then, like we kind of talked about, we also offer those overdraft protection lines as well, which is something that can really give peace of mind and make it one less thing that we have to worry about.
I have a ITM story.
Oh yeah,
scenario I want to share. I have two girls, and so it's always, $10 here, $10 there. And most ATMs you cannot get $10 from. So you got to get a 20, and then I got to go in somewhere and break the 20. And it used to, before kids, I would just go to the convenience store and buy a soda or something.
Sure.
No big deal. But now I need the full 2 10s, right? And so I remember I pulled money out. I had the 20, and I popped into a bank that I did not have an account at. And I remember, I was a teller in 2008, so things have changed a lot in the many, many years that's been. But I went in there and I said, hey, can you break this 20 for me? And she goes, do you have an account with us? And I go, no. And she goes, no, I can't. Now, I know we have that rule at our bank too. And it's cool. We don't have teller drawers. We have, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast, or we've talked about it, but it's like a counting device.
Yep.
Money goes in, money comes out. It's all digitally taken care of. So I understand the security of that. But here's what I'm trying to get at. If you bank with Core and you use the ITM, you can break up the bills between 5, 20s, and 100s. You can even do ones, can't you?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can do ones all at the ITM. And that's been huge for me, just being on the go. I'm leaving work. I can get my money how I want it broken up so that I can pay out my children for all the hard work that they're doing back at home. But I think that's just another testimonial to the ITM.
100%.
And do you remember, I don't know how long you were at the credit union, but do you remember when the first automated tellers in the drive-thru came out, where you could have one teller at a location and then it would be a screen, right?
Oh.
So I was in banking when this came out.
Oh.
People hated it. They were like, oh, the machines are taking over. And I don't have that personal touch anymore and everything.
No.
And I'm like, well, no, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
You still have a human that's handling the transaction. It's just they're able to now cover a couple different areas. So the ITM, I feel, is the next step of that to where you can be all the way out in Papillion La Vista and you've got the virtual center team way over off Dodge at headquarters, and they're going to be able to do everything that a teller would do as if you were just at the teller line anyways.
100%.
And I just think it's phenomenal technology and gives you more accessibility to your funds the way you want them.
Totally agree with that.
So there's a big plug for Core. Well, what if you want to switch banks? Because I always kind of make the joke, nobody really wakes up and says, hey, you know what I want to do today? Completely switch my banks up. And we talk about auto pay. We have auto debits now. We have a lot of things in this world that we are able to put our information in once and kind of set it and forget it.
Sure.
And you're going to go more in depth on how to kind of navigate switching banks. But here's what I'm going to tell you. It never hurts to do the switch because you update all your passwords, which we should be doing often.
That's a good plug.
You actually can find things that maybe you're paying for that you really don't want to be paying for, so you can clean up, make a little money when you're changing banks, right? So it's
That's also true.
For me, I feel it's a good pulse check. Mm-hmm. And then once you do those things, I don't know, I'm older now, I would remember, okay, well, I don't want to sign up for stuff anymore that I'm not going to use,
right.
Like a gym membership that I haven't seen in 3 years, or Peloton actually is what it is for me.
Oh,
I got on my bike for the first time in 3 months. That's the most expensive bike ride I've had in a long time, right?
Imagine.
So happy I used it, though. But okay, so I think it is a good pulse check, though, on what's going on with your finances. So, yes, it's not the most convenient, but it updates a lot of things when you're making those transitions. So that's my selling point of what you can do when you switch over. But what do you have for us, Courtney?
Sure. So we have actually made it more convenient than ever. Mm-hmm. This is the most convenient I've ever seen, especially at Core Bank. We've just rolled out a new account opening process online. Yep. It's right through our website. You can go through all of our accounts, pick the ones you want. You can see the benefits of them, and it will verify your identity. It scans your ID, scans your face, make sure that you're legit.
Nice.
And the nice thing about this is, great, you get to pick your own account, but in order to fund it, you're able to auto debit another bank.
Nice.
You're able to move your funds over, digitally. Another way that you can then move it over is, people bring us cashier's checks. A lot of the time they'll do it like that. We even have mobile deposit. So if it's not $500,000, then we can do mobile deposit as well. We have a lot of ways that we can help move that money over. And it's another thing is that, if you don't want to use the online platform, if you want to experience Core Bank, I always ask people to come in and at least experience it once.
Yeah.
We really pride ourselves. We greet at the door. We make sure that, we have coffee and water at our locations. Some customers ask for sandwiches because it looks a little bit like a coffee shop. Does it?
Yeah. We don't have sandwiches.
We don't have sandwiches. Disclaimer. But trust me, you probably don't want me to make it anyway. I can barely boil water at this point. that was extra. That wasn't in my notes.
I was a sandwich maker at Arby's. I could help if needed.
That's awesome. I love that.
College jobs.
Hey, maybe coming to a Core Bank near you. I don't know if we'll get that approved. It's not. I don't think we'll get that approved. We're trying, though. And so we really tried to have that whole experience. And so we can help. You may have a circumstance, kind of explain it to us, and we can help you with our solutions that we do have. We really want to be there for you and be able to help you with your finances. We may not have an answer right away, but we will do our best to find one, because that's what we do, is we are problem solvers, and we do our best to be solution minded in all we do.
I was going to say any final thoughts, but I think that
That might have been the final thought.
I think that closes it out perfectly. Well, Courtney, thank you again for being on the podcast. And for more information on the Core Experience podcast, you can go to corebank.com/podcast or email coreexperience@corebank.com. If there's ever a topic, subject, or maybe even a guest that you would like to have or see on this podcast, we'd love to reach out to them, or we'd love to do the research and cover topics that you would be interested in. Again, thank you, Courtney, for your time today.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it.
And for everybody else, we will talk to you on a future podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Core Experience, your connection to community, business, and the people who make it all happen. For more details, go to corebank.com/podcast or email coreexperience@corebank.com. Brought to you by Core Bank, member FDIC.